Welcome to Point Blank. This is your host, Panama Crypto. Today, our guest is Samson Mow. Samson is portrayed by haters as a toxic Bitcoin maximalist. He's CSO at Blockstream. He's a crypto entrepreneur. He's CEO at Pixelmatic, amongst other endeavors and organizations. Welcome, Samson. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Panama. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Let's get going. So how you became involved with Bitcoin and crypto?
So it depends how you define involved. So I first read about Bitcoin in 2013 and started researching it, but I wouldn't say I was fully involved until 2015 when I joined BTC China. That was an exchange based out of Shanghai, and it's one of the largest exchanges and mining pools at that time. Yeah, I think that's about the time I got really into it, and then I got pulled into the whole scaling wars, and yeah, the rest is history.
So are you truly a Bitcoin maximalist? Because you get lots of hate on crypto Twitter about you being an advisor for Ethereum ICOs.
I don't know. I think most people get a lot of hate. I mean, if you're well known, you just get haters. It's just the way the world works. But for your question, am I a Bitcoin maximalist? I guess it depends on how you define Bitcoin maximalist. So is it that you only buy Bitcoin, support Bitcoin, or do you hate everything else? And you would
do
not.
You?
Well, no. I don't. I'm fine with things that are not scammy. So there can be crypto projects out there that don't have a pre-mine. They don't make false promises, and they have real developers behind them working on them. And I think that's all good and great for the whole ecosystem to advance this technology and improve privacy for people in general. So, I forgot Leon the fact checker. He said, I do a show with two other people that have coins, like Charlie Lee with Litecoin and Ricardo Spagni with Monero. So it's not really about Bitcoin maximalism or only Bitcoin and hating every other project out there. It's really just like, do you hate the scammy projects? Because I don't think those two projects are scammy.
What about the Ethereum? I've seen on Twitter you getting some hate to the Ethereum guys.
Well, yeah, but I don't really like Ethereum much because I think it's scammy. But I think what you're referring to is the INX IPO. So it is actually an IPO. It is not an ICO. So I would say it's more like a security token. And in their prospectus, they did mention Ethereum technology, but that's not the only technology that they can use. But they filed that years ago. And I think they're still in the process of the IPO, so I can't really comment on that. But what I've just mentioned is already publicly available if people really wanted to DYOR. But I think people just see Ethereum and my name, and then they jump to conclusions.
Cool. You work in many projects that I've seen, or at least I research. What are the most exciting crypto projects you're currently working on?
Oh, right. So, I mean, for Blockstream, we have a lot of projects. But for me, the most exciting one is the Liquid Network. You may have heard of that because you're a trader. But the Liquid Network is an inter-exchange settlement sidechain that lets traders move Bitcoin quickly from exchange to exchange, or even off exchange. Like say you're trading and you want to take your coins off and put them back on, when you go to sleep. Take them off when you go to sleep and put them back on when you wake up. You can also use the Liquid Network for that. So it's a way to move Bitcoin quickly. But you can also issue assets in Liquid, like stablecoins. So we have Liquid Tether. We have a Canadian dollar stablecoin from Bull Bitcoin. And we have a JPY token from Crypto Garage. But it's a way to move assets really quickly and reliably through this network. And I think that's really interesting. But you can also combine that with the Lightning Network, and essentially any liquid asset can be transacted freely and instantaneously. The other exciting crypto project is Infinite Fleet. So that's from Pixelmatic and Exordium. Exordium is the publisher. Pixelmatic is the developer. But this is a game project. It is a real game. So it's an MMO game. We have a team of developers from AAA studios, but we're employing what we're calling a dual token model. So we're doing a security token to raise capital, but the game is using a utility token as the game currency. So if you imagine World of Warcraft, instead of World of Warcraft gold, then you have a crypto asset as the game money. So I think it's really interesting how it will play out. For the fundraising model, it kind of democratizes the capital raise. We're trying to raise money from the players of the game. So if you've heard of Star Citizen, it's a game that's been in development for, I don't know, 5-6 years or even longer, I forgot, but they've raised a ton of money, I think 300 million now. But those are essentially donations to Star Citizen. The players of the game are just buying things for a game that is not yet released and may never be released, but they have no stake in it. They have no upside in it. But with Infinite Fleet, if you're a player, you can still buy game items, but you can also invest through the security token, and then you actually have a piece of the upside and a profit share. So I think that's really interesting, and the utility token is interesting too, because there hasn't really been a game that's had a free-flowing portable currency like that as a key part of the game. So we'll see how that evolves over time, but it could lead to some interesting developments.
Does the game look sort of like EVE Online?
Yeah, it does look a bit like EVE. It's a sci-fi space game. You can learn more about it at infinitefleet.com. We have a pretty active community on Discord. And yeah, it's like spaceships. You command a fleet of ships. A key element of the game is the directed narrative. So if you're a gamer, then you play an MMO game, but after they shut down the game, it's all over. But what we want to do is incorporate the player's story. So it designed the whole story quest when we launch it, and it's all preordained. We are establishing the backstory. We release chronicles of the lore every week or so, but the idea is that the players will come in, and then there are a pick, and it's up to them amongst themselves which one tackle. And if it's a big objective, then that's how they earn the Infinite Fleet Utility Token, INF. It's a proof of participation. So you have to actually play, participate, move the story forward in how you choose, and then you'll earn this utility token. But the key thing for them, the benefit, the long-term benefit, is that they write the story. So if you're a leader of an alliance in the game and you go and destroy an enemy stronghold, that actually is written into the story. So 10, 20, 30 years later, when the game is wrapped up and servers are closed down, you'll have a book that will detail all the exploits of all the players and what they've done in the history of the game.
Nice. This sounds like a crossbreed between EVE Online and StarCraft.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're going for. With StarCraft, you jump in and you build your base and you're done and it's gone and you have no contribution to a greater whole. With Infinite Fleet, what we want to do is extract the combat from the base building. So it's sort of an MMO RTS. You build your base all the time. You can build emplacements, defensive structures in orbit around planets or stars. And this is separate from the direct combat part. So you jump into instances to fight, but what you build is always going to be there, unless of course that gets attacked by the Aatrox, the enemy faction, and they can actually destroy your base. But your base is more persistent across time.
This sounds really cool. I can't wait for Infinite Fleet to get out.
Yeah.
Sign me in. Where I sign in?
Thank you. Follow us on Twitter. You can sign up for the newsletter at infinitefleet.com. You can follow on Twitter, but we're aiming for alpha at the end of this year. So we'll take a limited number of people in to start experimenting, helping us balance and tune the game. And then beta will be next year. And then
awesome. I'll join that. So what is Blockstream and how its implementation are changing the landscape of Bitcoin?
So we like to describe Blockstream as a Bitcoin infrastructure company. Our core mission is to augment Bitcoin. So we have developers that work on the Bitcoin protocol. We contribute to the Lightning protocol. But overall, everything we're doing is to augment Bitcoin in some way. And I think one of the cooler things that we're doing is Blockstream Satellite, which you may have heard of. So this is a service from Blockstream where we're leasing space on geosynchronous satellites around the Earth and broadcasting the Bitcoin blockchain to Earth. And this has a number of benefits. The most pragmatic benefit is really we prevent network splits. So if you believe Bitcoin is going to be the foundation of a new financial system, then you can't have outages and you can't have it bound to terrestrial internet, right? Undersea cables can still be cut to different countries, and then those countries can be cut off from the network. And in the event for Bitcoin that happens, you can have a split where a region of the world thinks that the chain is like this, but the rest of the world is moving on because their internet is down. But as long as one person in there is running a Blockstream satellite node, they can keep that country in sync with the rest of the network. So it's pretty interesting when you think about it, that Bitcoin is no longer reliant on internet. It's nuclear proof now with this technology, and we're always expanding on it and building it out more. So recently we allow for full synchronization of the Bitcoin blockchain from the Genesis block. So you can just buy a $100 satellite dish, cobble together the equipment, and get the entire Bitcoin blockchain without any internet at all. To broadcast the transaction, you'll still need it, but we're still evolving the whole product and service. Maybe someday you won't even need that.
Yeah, hopefully. It sounds really similar as what I've seen people talking about, especially not so fast, talking about the GoToTena implementations where they use mesh to relay Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah. I think we have an integration with GoTena as well. So you can plug a GoTena into a Blockstream satellite setup, and it's all interconnected. But all that kind of tech to make Bitcoin more nuclear proof is all good in my book. Similar to my view on privacy tech, I think it's a good thing. All this tech to make Bitcoin more robust and resistant to centralized internet providers is also a good thing too.
That's really amazing. This episode is brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange that makes possible to trade with leverage on legacy markets from a single Bitcoin-based account. What is the difference between Liquid and Lightning Network?
Right. So this question actually comes up a lot of the time. And recently, I think in the last couple of weeks, some people have been trying to frame it like people that like Liquid don't like Lightning, or Blockstream doesn't like the Lightning Network. But that's just a really weird thing to say, because we've been investing in Lightning Network R&D since 2015. And we have a team of 3 working on Lightning full time. We only have one person working on Bitcoin protocol work full-time. So we're investing much more into Lightning, actually. But going back to your original question, I think the easiest way to frame it is Liquid is meant for moving large amounts of Bitcoin around. Lightning is more well-suited for moving small amounts quickly for payments. So, for trading purposes, I think some exchanges are integrating Lightning, and that's good for small amounts moving in. But if you're a big trader, you want to move 100 coins into an exchange, and you want to use Lightning, that's not really great. You have a hot wallet risk because Lightning is always online, whereas Liquid, you can still have it in a cold wallet or air-gapped machine. So you can store 100 Bitcoin on an air-gapped machine, move it to an exchange, and you're good. But for Lightning, you need to open up a 100 BTC channel to that exchange. And if you didn't want to do that, you'd have to route through the network. But Lightning is very much dependent on routing and channel capacity, and it's hard to get 100 BTC of capacity, or it will be very hard to get 100 BTC of capacity. So I think they're very complementary technologies that serve different use cases. But Lightning is great too. Liquid is great. They're just very targeted to specific ways that you ideally should use them for your own security at this time.
I've tried to use Liquid cross exchanges, in this case from Bitsy to Binance, but some exchanges do not have Liquid nor Lightning Network. What current exchanges to use Liquid and Lightning Network? Bitfinex is one of them, right?
Yeah, so Bitfinex is a Liquid integrated exchange. We have, as you mentioned, we have the Rock Trading, we have CoinNut, HODL. We have a lot of integrations, but I think Binance is missing from that. Huobi and OKX are also members of Liquid, but they haven't finished their integrations yet. We're actively in discussions with them. But if you're a trader and you want to be able to move your Bitcoin from exchange A to exchange B in 2 minutes, then you should write to the exchange and say, hey guys, can you integrate the Liquid network? Because it is really a great tech. If you have an open position, a leveraged position on one exchange, and you need to move funds from another exchange to cover, Liquid is the way to do that, and it's fast. If you're doing it with a Bitcoin transaction, you probably need to wait at least 3 confirmations, if not more. And those confirmations can be 10 minutes and up, depending on the difficulty in mining. But for Liquid, it's always going to be 1 minute block times, 2 minute settlement. So you'll always get it quick, very fast. So I think, write to CZ and tell them, hey, we want Liquid. Write to whoever you're using and say you want Liquid support. It's actually very easy for an exchange to integrate Liquid. It's more of a back-end thing. So for Bitfinex and Bitsy, what they do is they just take Liquid as if it was Bitcoin. So if you send them 1 LBTC, they just credit you with Bitcoin. So it's almost invisible. If you withdraw, you just pick it from a drop-down box. What do you want? And they just send it. So the most of the work is actually on an exchange's back-end system and making it work smoothly like that. But the actual integration of a Liquid node is very simple. It's very similar in terms of the code base and RPC calls to Bitcoin.
Do the confirmation times across Liquid on Bitcoin and Tether are the same?
Yeah, so every Liquid asset is also 1 minute confirmation times and 2 minutes for full settlement. So you can move Tether between every exchange that has Liquid Tether support in 2 minutes, which is really good. So I think people just need to become aware that this is a really great tool, really great transport mechanism. And if you want Binance to support it, like it takes a bit of work to fully integrate Liquid Bitcoin into the back office to accept both Bitcoin and Liquid Bitcoin and credit correctly. But if you're just supporting Liquid Tether, that's actually a much more simple integration. You just add it and take Liquid Tether as if it was ERC or Tron Tether or whichever other tethers are out there.
Does it depend on the Ethereum blockchain if you send Tether through Liquid?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Does it depend on the Tether network to send Tether across exchanges with Liquid?
No, so Tether supports multiple chains. So if you are on Bitfinex and you select if you withdraw Tether and you select Ethereum, that goes on the Ethereum chain. If you select Liquid Tether, it'll go on the Liquid blockchain. But if you want to swap between different networks, then you would send it back to Bitfinex and change it there. I think for large chain swaps, they handle it more manually because I always see Paolo posting about those. So maybe they're coordinated ahead of time. But for smaller swaps, then I think it's just automatic through Bitfinex's system.
That's awesome. Looking forward for the Liquid implementation across the board on all exchanges. Changing a bit of subject here.
Yeah, me too.
What is better than Ethereum?
Better than Ethereum in which term? Which dimension?
Smart contracts, platforms, dApps, better implementations across the board.
Well, I think if you want, right. I mean, there's a lot of Ethereum. There are a lot of Ethereum competitors. There's Tron, Cardano, and EOS, and
my favorite Tesos.
All of them do. Yeah, I mean, all of them are more modern and more scalable than Ethereum. So if that's your thing, then I would go with something else. But they're always promising 2.0. So who knows? But I think if what you want is a smart contract, the best thing is probably simplicity on Liquid. It's more stable and more scalable, and it's not going to break. Ethereum is always breaking. Their DeFi projects are always getting hacked, and yeah, it's like news every week about some DeFi failure.
So you don't think that the Ethereum 2.0 will make a substantial change on what it used to be?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it just looks like it's getting more and more complex, and we know from history that Ethereum developers are not really good with complexity. You've had the DAO hack, parity wallet issues, and now they want to go even more complex. So what we're working on is simplicity, which is a new way to do smart contracts on Bitcoin and Bitcoin-like blockchains like Liquid or even Litecoin. But the way that that's being done is you can verify what's actually going to happen, and it's much more simple, and you don't need to create JavaScript smart contracts to handle money and financial transactions.
But it's widely used right now. The amount of developers, it's immense. They have good funding. Do you think it would be a good implementation to use Ethereum?
Well, it does have a lot of funding and a lot of developers, but they still have a lot of security issues. The question is really, are the developers up to par to build? I think what Ethereum does is it draws a lot of web developers because their smart contracting language is JavaScript-like. So it's easy for people to get into. So you can be a web developer and suddenly become an Ethereum developer. But to work on something like, say, a Bitcoin-based smart contract, it's much harder and it's much more difficult for people to get into. And I think that's something that we hope to address with simplicity and higher level tools to create smart contracts on top of simplicity and leverage the Bitcoin and Bitcoin-like blockchains.
Cool. Don't want to open a can of worms here. So moving to another subject, what third-party crypto projects you like the most right now? I've seen you talking about sometimes about SAP, seen you retweet about the SAP implementation.
Yeah, Zap is really cool. I think Jack is a genius. Jack Mallers. It has a very smooth UI, and it's making Bitcoin very accessible to the everyday normal person that just wants to make a quick transaction. So I think that's a really good project. BTC Pay Server is also another one that I'm quite fond of. They are also making, being a merchant and running a merchant server very, very easy. They have a big community, great documentation, and they're really pushing ahead. They're really making things like BitPay obsolete. And I think they're doing great work for that too, with
And they also
all the
receive
grants
a
that they're
good,
receiving.
exactly.
I think yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, that's about it.
Anything outside Bitcoin, Monero, any other
Well,
implementations that you like that you're not
I
part
like
of?
I like people working on privacy tech. So I think Charlie's working on Mimblewimble for Litecoin. I think that's good too. We'll see how that plays out and how that develops. I'm following along because he's giving us updates. Monero is also an interesting project. Fluffy Pony is working on their Tari sidechain, and I think they're releasing some apps and doing some testing to reach more consumer level usage. So we'll see how that plays out too. But any project that is really building something and is not a scam, I think is a good thing, as long as they're pushing privacy.
Nice. What has been your crypto best and worst decision, Samson?
You mean my own?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think getting into Bitcoin is probably my best decision. Worst decision, I don't know. Haven't really given that much thought. I mean, I think I was asked a similar question if I was ever wrong about anything. And my answer was I thought that the Chinese government would open up the Chinese exchanges again after they were closed down, but that didn't happen. So I don't know. I think I'll just go with that.
You haven't sent a mass amount of Bitcoin to an unwanted wallet or lost your ledger or I don't know, made a really bad trade?
I only have 0.25 Bitcoin, so not much to lose.
That's hard to believe. Unless you have everything in Monero.
We'll never know.
So what do you think about this PayPal rumor about them accepting cryptocurrencies as means of payment? Do you think this is going to be a game changer?
I think the rumor was that they would let you buy cryptocurrencies on PayPal, right? But I guess you could use it for payment then too if you bought it. I think it's interesting. It's going to red pill a lot of people. A lot of people are going to learn about Bitcoin and probably other cryptocurrencies depending on what they list. But ultimately, it doesn't really do anything for Bitcoin because it's still a custodial service. PayPal has they've shut down people's accounts for various reasons. So it's not a game changer. It's just a nice marketing opportunity for Bitcoin. But recently there was news. CoinDesk mentioned USDC. There was an address that was blacklisted, and similar things would happen with PayPal. So it's not like they're doing a big service for Bitcoin. They're going to try to make money with Bitcoin, but they're not actually helping anyone become self-sovereign and censorship resistant at all.
I still think it's just a rumor. Same that happened with Amazon in 2018, that people were saying that Amazon was going to accept Bitcoin, but didn't really happen. It's just another rumor for me. But if it happens, it would be
but there's a big difference, I think. So
a nice on-ramp for many people that are still not in Bitcoin or are not invested in cryptocurrencies in general.
Yeah, but there's a big difference here. So for Amazon, there was no one that they could FOMO after. Like nobody nobody successfully did it and made a lot of money by accepting Bitcoin, right? Whereas you have a Cash App from Square that is, they're raking in the dough by supporting Bitcoin. So maybe PayPal wants to fast follow and also take a cut.
Probably. These things don't happen out of the blue, I guess. Maybe the rumors are true, or somebody got benefit out of the quote unquote fake news.
Yeah, we'll see.
So Samson, who definitely is not Satoshi?
Well, Craig Wright, obviously.
What about Adam Black?
Well, Adam Black, people have said he is, but he has denied it, and I think he is not. So you could also scratch him off the list too.
So I guess the question could be also, who could be Satoshi?
Well, any number of the early cypherpunks could be Satoshi. They're all interested in eCash, privacy, digital money. But I think Satoshi's probably not anyone that we know and interact with. I think if he's still alive, then he's just laying low. Maybe he's hanging out in Panama or something.
He's definitely not Richard Hart. Trust me.
Definitely not. Definitely. I don't think it's anyone that we know.
Hopefully, I just wish he stays incognito and that the Genesis block rewards stay there forever as a coin burn.
Yeah, probably.
And with that thought, we end our episode. I'm really honored to have Samson on Point Blank. Thanks for coming on, man. Can you tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, it's been great being on your show, and this is a great chat. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter. My handle's Excellion, and yeah, that's it.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Until next time, peace. This episode was brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange where you can trade without KYC on legacy markets with your Bitcoin. You can trade commodities like gold, silver, oil, even indexes and forex. Join now and get a 50% bonus on top of your deposit for trading at u.primexbt.com/Panama.